So, here we are. I don't remember exactly where we were when I did my last video, but we were filling the pool, and I think it finished around 4 a.m. this morning. Took about, I believe, like 38 hours to fill, running 2 hoses in here. But we're up, and the color looks good. The tile looks good. The water is still quite cold. We are not supposed to heat it or chlorinate it for at least 3 days. We actually have to spend the next 3 days brushing it twice a day. So we run the filter and we brush the plaster twice a day in order to remove the plaster dust. And that gets into the water and then gets filtered out. And once that is all gone, that is when we can heat it and add chlorine. It's a lot of work to brush it. A lot of squats. It's pretty great. So yeah, it looks pretty good. You can definitely see that we've got some rise here. We've had a couple of the contractors that I called come out. I think that we sort of know that our house isn't sinking now, but it's good to talk to them about it. And they, so far, have been pretty much in agreement that, yeah, you're fine. Your only option is pretty much to hope that the pool settles, and your concrete is definitely boned up, but we can fix that, hopefully, in the long run. I definitely think, like, this crack is way better than it was at its worst, so that's a positive thing. I still think that the area over on that side looks pretty bad. I think that the side that I'm standing on right now is settling a little bit better, but it's only been a day. Hopefully we'll do better, and it's possible that even if the pool does settle down, the concrete may not settle with it, so it's seeming like we'll have to do something there in general. So, thoughts on this entire experience. This is when I sit down and think about what we just went through here. So I remember in a business thing I took on Agile processes where before they had effective tools of project management, one of the first guys who was identifying the proper ways to carry out business projects said that the ideal way to carry out a project is to do it once, scrap everything, and start over again. And I think that likewise, we learned a lot over the course of this project, and I really wish I knew everything starting out that I know now. We didn't really understand when we went into this, like what hydrostatic pressure meant and what pool pop was. And even when our plaster guy was talking about it, like he talked about hydrostatic pressure causing a pop, like Sarah and I both understood that as really the concrete shell imploding rather than it floating. It's just the idea of this whole thing floating up like a big concrete boat just did not enter into our mind. It sort of turned out to be a perfect storm of bad scenarios. Like, we emptied the pool, and so that almost kind of committed us, but then we also got into this at probably the worst weather scenario that we could have. There was a ton of snow out there on the ground, and it suddenly got warm, all that snow melted, and it just simply rained for days and days on end. So I think that the pool guy thought that, I mean, like, you look outside and you say, there's the river. Obviously, that's where the water table is. Like, the pool's 10 feet deep, but it's more than 10 feet down to the river. So how could we possibly experience pop if that's where the water table is. And I mean, this thing is not actually all that stable. That's cool. While that is true, water was pooling under here because it wasn't draining to the river, and that's why we had our issue. We're very confused on why he was confused when it first started happening. I mean, we had that experience right the first time when it only popped a little bit. And we were talking about like, oh, temperature in here, like, oh, it's too cold, the concrete is contracting, and we're having problems there. So like we went out and got these space heaters. We've been blowing air from the house into here, and that just seems silly at this point. Like, to us now, it seems very obvious what was going wrong. And it's not like I think that we could have avoided at that point what happened here. We were just sort of hoping there that it wouldn't. But yeah, it would have helped to better understand what we were dealing with and what the risks were. Because I don't know what we would have done differently, but certainly, certainly we could have had options there in figuring out how to deal with the hydrostatic pressure that was building up because of all of that rain. And it would have been nice, but it is what it is now. And I think that I'm a lot more relaxed about it and comfortable with it than I was a few days ago, simply because like I know it's not a threat to the house. It's not going to get any worse. It could get better, but ultimately, once it settles out, it's something that we can deal with. It's going to cost money, but it's something that we can deal with. The place isn't ruined, which is good. That's good. The pool looks great. It's great how it turned out. I think we just were not expecting the amount of additional hassle and stress that came along with it. It was really intended to be this is the easy part. Like, oh, the ceiling, that part sucks, but that's something that we accepted when we took that on. But the pool was supposed to be easy. It was supposed to be fire and forget. Just bring a guy in, they do it all, and you don't have to worry about it. And that's not really how it turned out to be. But now it's over. And if you could have just skipped the great looking pool part, that would have been great. But at least it does look great. So yeah, the color is exactly what Sarah wanted. It just looks really good. So I'm gonna keep brushing. I'm gonna keep playing with pool chemicals. I have to add a whole bunch of. It's kind of silly because we went to a pool store today to have our water tested because I was reading that we needed to add alkalinity to increase the pH, but our pH is too high, so I also need to add acid in order to bring the pH down. And this is apparently true because we want to have like a buffer of total alkalinity, but we also want to bring the pH down. So I'm going to throw in a whole bunch of basically baking soda, and then over the course of the next couple of days, I'll be dropping in giant buckets that are full of diluted muriatic acid. So that's gonna be tons of fun. And yeah, so I guess that's the full story at this point. The retrospective on this entire project experience. Sarah wants me to do another video of the pool, at least at night, because she thinks it looks really great at night. But probably will be a little bit dark for a bit, at least until we either do something on the floor or more likely do some more work on the ceiling and get that fan in, because that's the next step.